Abu Sufyan is a Muslim and she is the wife of Muhammad ﷺ, and Abu Sufyan was the leader of the enemies of the Islam at that time. So he came. So the first person he tried were his daughter. So he went to the house. And when he entered the house, he tried to sit on, say, a blanket or something for the Prophet ﷺ. And she pulled it. He said, "What are you doing?" She said, "This is Firash al-Rasul ﷺ. This is where the Prophet ﷺ sits. And I will not allow you to sit on the firash or the mattress that the Prophet ﷺ is sitting on, because you are mushrik." Allahu Akbar. You see how great that Sahabiya radiallahu anha. And she didn't allow her father to sit where the Prophet ﷺ used to sit on. So, and he asked her, "What shall I do now?" She said to him, "Don't try to talk to Muhammad ﷺ because he will not talk to you. But if you'd like, try others." So he went to Abu Bakr, and Abu Bakr said to him, "Don't talk about this subject." Then he went to Umar. Umar, he said, "Do you like me to mediate between you and the Prophet ﷺ? By Allah, if there is nothing to fight you with, but only the ants, I will fight you by the ants." And then he went to Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu, and Ali, he said to him, "There is no chance. The only thing you try is just to surrender to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is the only thing to do." Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam refused to talk to him and continued preparing. And they were ready to go to Mecca, and they moved towards Mecca until they reached the outskirts of Mecca. We can say at that time they were about maybe 4 or 5 kilometers from Mecca. What the Prophet ﷺ asked them to do, to go on these little mountains and hills, and all of them make fires at night. So the Mecca people, they are looking, they are familiar with what's around them, and they saw fires everywhere around. So this means and they said, "Who are these people?" Because when you can see all these fires, you are talking about thousands of people, and they cannot fight them. Muhammad ﷺ at that time, he has 10,000 Sahabi, radwanullahi alayhim, Muhajirin and Ansar. And he made leaders. So there is Sa'd ibn Ubadah, there is Usayd ibn Hudayr, there is Khalid ibn al-Walid, and others who were the leader. And the plan was ready how to enter Mecca from 4 places. And the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said to them, when we enter, then when we enter, try not to fight unless if you find resistance. But if there is no resistance, don't fight. So when they saw all these things, they said Abu Sufyan again. And Al-Abbas bin Abdul Muttalib, the uncle of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, was going around to see if there is any spies coming. Then he recognized the voice of Abu Sufyan. So he went there and caught him. What's this? He said to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, coming, and his target is to conquer Mecca. What shall I do? He said to him, "Listen, the only thing you can do is to surrender to Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam and embrace Islam." So he took him to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now remember Abu Sufyan at that time, he's the leader of the mushrikeen. And the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam will not forget this fact. And he knows if he can convince this leader, this will give him a great deal in the conquest of Mecca. And also, we have to remember, in all the battles of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in all the fights, when you read it, you'll find all the time Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he is trying to reduce the casualties in the fight. He doesn't like to see the blood and the shed of blood there. He tried to minimize it because he didn't come to kill the people. Actually, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to save the people. And this is one of the ideas we have to think about it. And I read a survey or a study done by one of the brothers, Jazakallah Khair, and he studied the life of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Even after that, the Sahaba alayhim, when they conquered Syria and Iraq and all these countries, how many people killed and the percentage, and compare this with the wars between Europe. Then he went to the First World War and the Second World War to compare. And I think from both sides, during the Prophet ﷺ time, the total from both sides about only 300 people, from Mushriki and from Muslims. So when you make the ratio between the people, the population at that time, compare it to the First World War, I think 1 million or 6 million, I cannot remember the figure now, but it is in millions. So you see how many people, these people who are talking now about Muhammad Muslims, they are killers and they are thirsty for blood. Who's the real thirsty for blood and killing? The people who sent this on Hiroshima and Nagasaki and Iraq and Afghanistan and killed these thousands of people, millions of people, or Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who while he's advising the people to conquer Mecca, he was advising them, don't fight until there is resistance. So Abu Sufyan came to Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, and he said, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to him, Ya Abu Sufyan, is it not time to recognize that there is no God worthy of worship but Allah? He said yes. Because if there is other God other than Allah, He will protect me in this. And these idols that we are worshipping, it will protect us. But we can see that nothing happened. Then when he recognized the first part, then Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said to him, Ya Abu Bakr, Ya Abu Sufyan, isn't the time to witness that I am Rasulullah? He said, still there is question about this. And Abu al-Abbas bin Abdul Muttalib radiallahu anhu, he shaked him. He said to him, you know that he's the Prophet of Allah. You know that. And everything shows you that he's the Prophet of Allah. Just say it and just leave this pride. So he said, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasul. So now the leader of Mecca became what? A Muslim. Subhanallah. This was, in other words, the first fath. So when the leader of your enemy became Muslim, the fath has happened. So Al-Abbas bin Abdul Muttalib said to the Prophet ﷺ, O Prophet of Allah, Abu Sufyan, he likes to be recognized, so say some words. So the Prophet ﷺ said, go and tell the people, anyone enter his house, he is safe. Anyone enter the Kaaba, he is safe. Anyone enter the house of Abu Sufyan, he is safe. So Abu Sufyan went back, and Muhammad ﷺ started to move towards Mecca. Now when Abu Sufyan came, what happened? He said to them, Muhammad ﷺ is coming, thousands of people, and anyone enter Abu Sufyan's house, he will be safe. He said, what are you talking about? How many people in your house will take? He said, anyone enter the Kaaba, he will be safe. Then he said anyone who will enter his house will be safe. So the people scattered between the Kaaba and their houses and Abu Sufyan, and Muslims moved. So in the three fronts that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam planned, no resistance, only there was a resistance on Khalid ibn Walid front. There was some young, one of them was Akrimah bin Abi Jahl, and they cannot, in their mind at that time, to accept the fact that Muhammad ﷺ is entering Mecca just without any resistance. What the people will say about them. So they tried to fight. Maybe half an hour, Khalid bin Walid killed many of them. They surrendered. And then Muslims, all of them, now entered Mecca. And here we can see how the Prophet ﷺ entered Mecca. But remember, brothers, before I say this, that 8 years before this, they forced him to leave Mecca. Not only forced him, as I mentioned in the khutbah yesterday, they were planning to kill him. This was the plot. So he has, in a way, the full right to punish those who killed him, tried to kill him, to assassinate him. He has the full right to get revenge from all those that they tortured, his Sahaba. They took their properties, they took everything. And now Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he's the one who has victory. So he can arrange with his Sahaba, okay, put 5 camels from the right, 5 from the left, 5 in the front, 5 in the back, and now all of you now will shout and these things. We conquered Mecca and this. No. Nothing of this happened. Because he is Rasulullah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. He was so humble, nodding his head and reading Surah Al-Fatih. إنا فتحنا لك فتحا مبينا ليغفر الله لك ما تقدم من ذنبك وما تأخر ويتم نعمته عليك ويهديك صراطا مستقيما وينصرك الله نصرا عزيزا. Nasr, this is the Nasr, the victory. He arrived the Kaaba, bottom around the Kaaba, more than 300 idols. And he started, look them. قل جاء الحق وزهق الباطل إن الباطل كان زهوقا. The truth came, the false vanished, and tried to strike them and finish them. Until they reached the Kaaba itself. They opened the Kaaba because the key was of one who been inherited this from his fathers. They opened the Kaaba and the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he saw a picture painted for Ibrahim and Ismail, and they are يستقسمان بالأزلام. الأزلام, the people at that time, when they used to go somewhere, they will in a way consult the idols. Say they put 2 papers, go, don't go. They put it there. So if the word comes after, like doing withdraw, go, they will go. If the paper don't go, they will not go. So this was the picture, يستقسماني بالأزلام. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam just pulled it down and finished it, and he said they are liars. Never Ibrahim or Ismail did this. And then he made tawaf around the Prophet, about the Kaaba, and he stood there. Sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. And he said to the people of Mecca, Ya Ahl Mecca. Now, all of the people of Mecca stood there. And they were expecting. Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, they know what they did to Muhammad. They know what they did to the Sahaba, Ridwanullahi alayhim. They know what they did to Fatima, to Asma. They know all of these things. ما ترون أني فاعل بكم. What do you think I will do to you? He said, خير. Good. أخ كريم وابن أخ كريم. You are either a brother or a cousin. Subhanallah. Now he's a cousin and a brother. But years ago, he was majnoon, sha'ar, poet, all these things. So he said, I will say to you, as Yusuf alayhi salam said to his brothers, لا تثريب عليكم. You will not be accounted now for what you did. اذهبوا فأنتم الطلقاء. Go, you are free. Allahu Akbar. What a great Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam. What an example that this great Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam gives to his ummah. This, brothers and sisters, shows our deen, the rahmah in our deen, and how we act when we have victory. We are not like the Crusaders when they occupied the Masjid al-Aqsa and they killed in one day 70,000 Muslims. And if you read the new history in Algeria, in Libya, in Africa, many African countries, when the Europeans occupied these countries, how many Muslims they killed. And as I mentioned earlier, how many Muslims in Iraq and Afghanistan killed, and even between themselves. So this shows us our deen, that our deen is the deen of the rahmah. Our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the Prophet of mercy. And this shows us from a live example that this deen is the deen of rahmah, the deen which gives the people the freedom, the deen which gives people salvation. And these people, the 2,000 people of Mecca who were there at that time, became supporters of the deen later. Ikrimah bin Abi Jahl, who fought the Prophet ﷺ, became one of the leaders of the battles and one of the army leaders later. Who? Ikrimah bin Abi Jahl. Do you know whose father? His father? Abu Jahl. One of the most enemies to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is the deen. And when we understand this, we have to relate this to our children, to our families, to our colleagues, to say to them, this is the true picture about the Islam. Only Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Sahaba and those who followed them of the Salaf Ridwanullah alayhim, those people who are really reflecting the true essence of Islam. But those people who are killing here and there for nothing, you'll hear about people, operations and these things, and you think, why they did this? Believe me, brothers, all of you heard about in Kenya, when they put people and killed them in that supermarket, that big mall, I was asking myself, these people, what they are doing? Is this the Islam? To go in a mall and start calling the people, oh, are you Muslim? Go. If you are not Muslim, come and we slaughter you. This is not Islam. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his followers, the Sahaba and Tabi'een, Ridwanullahi alayhim, these are the right example of Islam. To show you the right face of Islam. Islam is not for killing. Islam for saving. We have to adopt these words. Islam for salvation. Islam like to give the people life, not to take the people life. This is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam sent him, and he said that in the Quran, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. We sent you only as a mercy, not to Muslims, للعالمين. To everything exists. So Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, rahmah to Muslims, rahmah to non-Muslims, rahmah even to the animals, rahmah to the environment, rahmah to everything exists in this world. So inshallah next week we'll continue this surah, but I'd like really before I finish, everyone, brothers and sisters, to remember the importance of Fatih Makkah and how Fatih Makkah reflects, expresses the true picture of Islam and how our great Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam acted on that day. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي.